All right. We're going to talk about kickers because that's my favorite topic. Harry knows it. You know it. And Harry put it in the rundown. And the reason we're talking about kickers is because Jake Bates is a UFL god. We saw him this past weekend. He hit a 62-yard field goal. That was 1 week after hitting a 64-yard field goal. He is now just the second kicker in the history of the world to make a 60-yard field goal in consecutive weeks. How crazy is that, Solly?
You're the kicking expert. That sounds pretty crazy, but I need you to confirm.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely bonkers. I mean, that's something that I just never thought I would see. Brett Maher did it in 2019 with the Cowboys, and no one's done it before that. No one has done it after that until our guy Jake Bates did that. So now, after Bates hit the teams took notice after the 64-yarder. They said, "Oh, all right, our radar is on. We see this guy. That's huge." Now he comes out and hits a 62-yarder. Now NFL teams are just like moths to the flame here. And Mike Nolan, the coach of the Michigan Panthers, that is Jake Bates' team, basically came out and said, hey, look, teams are contacting him. And guess what? Jake Bates is under contract with the UFL. Jake Bates is not allowed to sign an NFL contract until the UFL season is over. And because he's under contract, NFL teams are not allowed to directly contact Jake Bates about a contract. They're allowed to call the Michigan Panthers and say, hey, they can ask questions about Jake Bates through the Panthers, but they cannot directly contact him. So do you think that makes sense, first of all, because it's like the UFL. If you're in the UFL, you want to play in the NFL. Do you think that rule makes sense, or should it just be the NFL can call you if they want?
I don't think it makes sense. I think if you're a kicker, you're a player, you're anybody in this league, you're not in it to be in the UFL. You're in it to go to the NFL. That's the whole point. You're putting together good tape. You're putting situations to hit 60-plus yard field goals so that these NFL teams then take notice of you and try to, obviously acquire your services. So this is where I think go to the USFL, the XFL, the UFL now. This is where I think they get it wrong, and this is where I think that they still need to fine-tune whatever this spring league is that they want to try to establish. You need to connect it to the NFL. You have to have it be something of an NFL entity, even if it's just kind of a side thing. It's not officially linked with the NFL, but it still needs to be somewhat linked so that when these things happen, you can get to know a player in the UFL, and then all of a sudden he joins your team, and they're actually contributing to that team in the NFL that following season. So then me, an NFL follower, will take a little bit more stock into these spring leagues because it could be a breeding ground for contributors to my NFL team. Like that, they need to find a way to link the NFL teams and the NFL product to the UFL. Right now, it just feels like they're trying to get into their own way.
Right, and almost make it like a minor league of sorts.
Yeah.
But I will say that this has given the UFL a lot of publicity that they probably would not have gotten because the fact that anyone in America might know a UFL kicker's name is shocking. If you would have told me that in February that some of the country would know who Jake Bates was, I would have thought he hit a 70-yard field goal. And he has come close to that. And I love that Michigan Panthers coach is a former NFL head coach. Mike Nolan was obviously with the 49ers. And so it will be interesting to see what he does because there is no doubt he is going to get a training camp invite once we get to the end of the UFL season in June. But obviously, you still, if you're a special teams coach, there are going to be things you want to see. For instance, is he going to be accurate on short kicks? Only played one game. He went to training camp with the Texans in 2023, only kicked in one game. He missed an extra point. And then you also want to see how he kicks outdoors because both of his field goals have been indoors at Ford Field. He doesn't play an outdoor game till week 5 and the UFL. We're heading into week 3. So there's just a lot of questions that still need to be answered, but he will certainly get a tryout. Now, let me ask you this, Tyler. It seems like there's a new spring league every year. And finally, we have the XFL, USFL combined into the UFL. Have you watched any games? What do you think so far?
I was just going to say, I'd be lying to you if I said I've been sitting down every weekend and watching games. I mean, it's the off season. We're NFL, writers and all of that. So if I don't have to watch the UFL, then I won't. But if I'll see it online. I'll see clips and things like that. And to me, the reason why I haven't invested fully in the UFL yet is because, as you mentioned, there's been so many spring leagues, and you get to like week 5 of the thing, and all of a sudden you find out no one's getting paid, the paychecks aren't going through, it's bankrupt, and the league folded. So I remember watching the XFL when it first came back, and in showing some interest into these spring leagues, because I do think that there are good stories to be told where there's a kicker hitting a 60-something yard field goal and he goes to the Dallas Cowboys and he helps that team out the following year. I think that there are good narratives to come from these spring leagues, but they've been so inconsistent, their inability to stay relevant, and right now, I mean, we're just talking about it, they're not really creating a clear pathway to the NFL. It's just hard to invest in. And for somebody, let's just use us for an example. Bengals and Patriots followers, it's tough to have a link to a team that's not in New England, not in Cincinnati, and there's really no tie. Like if Bailey Zappi went down there and was starting to play for them, okay, fine. Like, if he needs the reps, or if there was a young quarterback there that's linked to my organization but needs some more playing reps that he didn't get during the NFL season, all right, fine. I'll watch him play for the Alabama Rough Riders or whoever the team is. But outside of that, it's tough for me to identify and to have any sort of connection with these teams, because one, I don't know if they're going to be there, and two, I don't know how it helps my NFL franchise.
Yeah, it's funny you use that exact example of someone like a quarterback from your team going to one of these teams, because Bengals fans probably remember AJ McCarron. He started a playoff game the year Andy Dalton got injured, and AJ McCarron now plays for the St. Louis Battlehawks. So I do think that there are situations like that where you're thinking, you know what, I do want to see how he does, because I liked him when he was on the Bengals. It was harmless. He was backup quarterback most of the time that he was here. And so I do think situations like that help. And we'll see, if they last a couple seasons, that's really what they need to do. Just kind of prove that you can last more than 1 or 2 years. And that's how you build a fan base